I realized that the potential in the long term, right? I realized that all of the things that I'm building towards, some of the projects might not make it. Okay, I'm not going to say, WAGMI or something, everybody's going to make it. It's not possible. Some of them might not. And especially with startups, I mean, they have a high failure rate. But I have a vision on what the future is going to look like, right? And what it's going to take to get there. And all of the things that I'm doing are building towards that. And that's, for me, that's what drives me forward. I know for a fact that, I mean, it's a classic example. The US dollar is not going to remain the global reserve currency for long. I've been blogging about this for more than 5 years.
You're listening to the Web3 Creators Podcast, where we speak to the brightest minds and builders in crypto, DeFi, NFTs, and the metaverse. Our goal is to give you the absolute best tools for building a thriving business in the Web3 space. Now, here's your host, Hernan Arbor. Let's start creating.
Creators, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Web3 Creators Podcast. I know it's been a while since our last episode, but today I have with you and with us, nonetheless, and Mati Greenspan, and we'll take his take on gonna get to meet him in this episode, and also we're gonna hit his story about Revault Network and his take on the state of the crypto. So, how are you, Mati?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, Hernan.
It's a pleasure having you here. It's truly an honor. We've recently started talking and potentially exploring how to add value to the crypto ecosystem together. And I'm really excited to have you here. Let's start by the basics. Could you give for our audience just a brief intro on although I've been following for a while, but for our audience, just about your background and where you working nowadays?
Yeah, well, thanks a lot. I mean, and thanks for reaching out as well. I'm excited to meet other creators and builders in this space always, and happy to see all the projects that you're working on and how we can collaborate. And I'd love to take an opportunity maybe to even to hijack this interview a little bit, and let's focus this really on the people that are inside quantum economics at the moment. And as you know, there are a lot of very interesting and high-profile individuals, and some of the most talented people in the space. Each one is handpicked, for the most part, and focusing on different areas of the blockchain, cryptocurrency, startup ecosystem. For me, I don't know if you've ever read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was probably one of the best sellers for quite a while. In my family, they hand it to you as soon as you're bar mitzvah. They're like, look, learn this. And then there's a lot of kind of strategies for success in life and in dealing with people and relationships and business in particular. And one of the things, it's written by Dale Carnegie about his dad, Andrew, or vice versa. I'm not sure. Don't know the family that well. In any case, he noticed that his dad, who was a very successful railroad entrepreneur, and basically just surrounded himself with extreme brain power. Right? It just all of his friends, all of his closest circle, were intellectuals, and I feel that for me, and I've always felt that like no one person can contain all of the knowledge, right? And this is especially true in the cryptocurrency market, where I got into Bitcoin in 2013. It was really like you just put Bitcoin on the watch list, right, between crude oil and gold as a market analyst. That's, that was about the extent of it. You're watching the price, and if it moves, you can interpret why it moved, or, what's about to happen maybe. But for the most part, there wasn't much deeper than that. Only once, Litecoin and then Ethereum came online, and then, the explosion in 2017 with all of the ICOs and everything like that. Then it became all of a sudden this field where it's extremely diverse, and we have different areas, obviously NFTs and decentralized finance, but stable coins and CBDCs, enterprise blockchain. It's basically become so diverse. I believe that everybody on our team has unique industry, or many of the people on our team have unique industry knowledge, and many people we've literally gone out to look for the best writers and researchers in the space as well. So what I'd like to do here is just maybe, tell a little bit about myself, sure, but turn this into a series, right?
Yeah.
Where we'll interview everybody on the team, get to know them a little bit, and get to know what they're working on. And this can be an excellent way of increasing our cross collaboration efforts. The more we know what other people are working on, the more it will be easy to approach each other and help out where we can. And obviously, everybody, nobody need to go through me. If somebody have something that they want to work on with somebody else that has nothing to do with me, also is completely fine. But obviously, I'll be speaking about what the label is about, and what is the long-term vision here.
Well, I think that's a great idea, Mati. And you not just give me a way to give you guys a spotlight for quantum economics, but you also gave me like a ton of brand new episode ideas lined up. So I think that's a great win-win. Mati, I want to get a bit into just a short do a shortcut of your personal path. I want to just focus on the moment where you were at eToro. You're doing a market analysis, and you decided to create quantum economics. What was the shift? Was that moment that you thought to yourself, "Okay, I have to jump on this. This is the vision. I'm doing this."
Yeah. So I've been involved, throughout my career, I would say. Even before I started working in online brokers in 2008, it's always been a very steady path of progression for me in personal growth. And eToro was very much like that, and they gave me a lot of space to learn and to produce new things and grow projects and lead campaigns and things like this. That opportunities that I'd never really been given elsewhere. At a certain point, however, after about 6 years, I would say, I was there for a total of 7.5 years. So it really, the realization came long before I walked out the door. I said, okay, I've gotten to the point where I've pretty much reached the maximum personal growth that I can within eToro. And I said, well, maybe there's opportunity for upper management, but it didn't seem like a very big possibility to me. But I said, you know what? I'll try. I'll try to play the politics game and see how high I can get within eToro. But to do that, I will need to take some risks, and that was calculated risks. And I understood that upper management is not somewhere that they're going to usually take from the foot soldiers that came in the door. They're going to look for somebody who's been upper management and without their career and has a resume as such. Especially when I came into eToro, there was about 100 employees, and when I left, there was about 1,200 or so. So by that time, upper management, they're really looking for a resume that, has been at a Fortune 500 or several Fortune 500 companies and things like that. But I took and the entire while from that time of that realization, it's okay. I have to have a plan B as well, right? Which it turns out to really have been my plan A, because I realized this is a risk. I'm probably going to have to leave. Um, it was the riskiest decision that I have ever taken in my life to leave eToro, because it's a good company, great prospects for growth of the company. I was getting options that were vesting over time. I still have my eToro shares. I've exercised all of the options on my way out the door. So those are listed among my assets. I had 3 kids and one on the way when I walked out. And it's not easy to leave a high-paying salary. What I did have going for me are 2 things. Number one was an amazing severance package that, by law in Israel, they have to pay 1 month's salary for every year that you.
Yeah.
So, I had some.
Yeah, wiggle room to try
I had
and
a runway. I had a runway. Number two, I just said 3 things. Number two was the bull market. It really has been, what the time that I left in 2019 was just before COVID started. I went to work from home before COVID. Everybody else copied me like 3 months later. They're like, hey, we're working from home. I'm like, hey, welcome to the club. I've been doing that for a few months now. But that's really when the massive bull market kicked off, and that really played out in my favor. But number 3 that I would say, and this is remarkable on behalf of, Yoni Assia, the CEO of eToro, and the leeway that they gave me to create a name for myself in the market, which was a strategy for growth for eToro, which they'd never really been in the news very much from a sell-side analyst perspective. And now if you turn on Bloomberg or CNBC, you're going to see eToro analysts left, right, and center. And, that was largely because of the success that I was able to attain at getting in the news by providing commentary to journalists. By the time, by the time it was, I ended with eToro, I mean, I was in the news six times a day in some cases, right? And we're talking about, Bloomberg, CNBC, Thomson Reuters, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, all of these top tier publications, and they were interviewing me, and everybody wanted to know, what are my thoughts on the market. In starting,
and that also must have been like a tough decision to say, okay, I have all this spotlight and growing my name now without having that eToro umbrella. Will I still have that, media leverage that gave me that exposure, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the first things I did, because I decided at that time, I really want to be in the news because of things that I do rather than because of things that I say. And
For the title that I wear.
yes, also, in the first year, I would say it was extremely easy, but also one of my focuses was in transitioning that from, Mati Greenspan, the person, to quantum economics, the label, right? And to that end, I put several of our early analysts through kind of media training and stuff like that to get them, um, into, what's going on in the news and stuff like that, and how to get quoted and things.
So
I
what
was
was the vision, Mati, for the quantum economics? What was kind of the thing that said, okay, I think this is going to be the type of business service idea that we grow, and this is how we're going to provide value to the market?
Yeah. So I would say that, especially in the beginning, it was very easy because there was a lot of low-hanging fruit as far as incoming leads, right? In the bull market, especially, people know your name, so they reach out and say, hey, how can we work together? They know your talent, so they come up on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and things like that. And especially when projects were out there with budgets and extra money. I mean, money was literally free. It was like just picking it up off the street. I remember I have a trader's license from SciSec, right? So one of the first things I said, okay, let's start a fund, right? So I started doing the research. I said, okay, I'm allowed to manage money. I have this license. Let's set it up. And then I started talking to the lawyers there, and they're like, okay, well, you need to set up a separate investment firm. That's $100,000 investment. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have the license. Why do I need to set up a fund like this? Why does it cost so much money? It doesn't even make any sense. And this was exactly, the time that DeFi started really taking off, that DeFi came into public awareness. I've been talking about tokenization of assets since 2015, but this is the first time where people were talking about displacing traditional finance as we know it. And I said, look, this is clearly the way.
The DeFi summer, right? And I think Uniswap airdrop probably was kind of the pivotal, kickoff of that run.
Yeah, exactly. And having been, invested in the ICO boom, I even invested in the original DAO of Ethereum, back in 2016, the whole hard fork and everything like this. So I understand the potential, but I also understand that there's a lot of work to be done here, right? And it's not, and especially, in the bull market, there's a lot of free rides, but that all, basically went out the window, when Terra Luna collapsed, and FTX and Celsius, and then the U.S. regulators, who always had this kind of eye on crypto, and have been even they've thrown people in prison literally, for promoting cryptocurrencies, and not promoting cryptocurrency, but even supporting them. Ross Ulbricht is the founder of Silk Road, prime example. I mean, he's got a larger sentence than El Chapo, like a freaking mafia boss who has a reputation for beheading people.
No, it's really ridiculous, like overreach. It's clearly just like to set an example.
Really Shrem and Nick Szabo, and that they've all been under persecution. I mean, Eric Voorhees, who's like one of my heroes of the space. I mean, he's constantly getting harassed by government officials, and for what, right? We're trying to make things better, and America was founded on those principles of freedom. But anyways, you and I are not in America, and this is not about that. I think that everybody who's already here in Quantum already understands this and is already working towards these goals. So yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that the latest grind on Gary Gensler at the Senate, can it be like a watershed moment where the broader audience start and like broader American people start noticing that, hey, the SEC might not really have the investors' interests in mind after all?
Yeah, well, we're firmly in the then they fight you stage. We thought we were in the then you win stage in 21, and then we realized no, actually we got to go a step backward.
Take a bit longer.
With SBF and Alex Mashinsky holding everybody's money, we were clearly not in the then you win stage. We were just in the money is free stage. So everybody who knows how to collect it is doing so. But actually, they're fighting now. They're fighting hard. But the good thing is, it doesn't matter, because the technology specifically is set up to not need them. So what they say, there will be countries who support it. I think that those countries will benefit. There will be countries who fight it, and I think that those countries will lose. And it really is that simple. And as individuals, we now have the power to circumvent and to do what we want to. obviously nobody should break the law. And I don't think that anybody here really is breaking the law. If the SEC suddenly says something is a security retroactively, nobody broke the law. I mean, you just made something illegal after the fact. Is like, if it's legal to walk down the street, and then all of a sudden you've walked down the street and said, no, you can't do that. You can't walk here. You can't retroactively punish me for that. So
especially if they're going off on a 1913, like how we test law, and it's like I don't know how even it's class.
It's the way that they've interpreted the law, but even the Howey test doesn't bother me. Honestly, like the whole issue of is something a security or not, is it not a security? How do you define it? Is it non-issue, right? Other countries have already said, okay, so these are defined as securities, and here's how you handle securities. The issue is that the SEC is calling everything a security, but not providing any sort of guidance on how we're supposed to register securities or how we're supposed to report on them or anything like this. The issue isn't that they're securities. They are securities, not security, it doesn't matter. Define it clearly, yes, that's one. But other than defining it clearly, the more important issue is provide a clear path to regulation, because there is not truly registered with the SEC as they say, hey, come in and register. Nobody has been able to actually do that. So they basically put everybody into a limbo of you can't proceed because there isn't a path. So
regulation by prosecution or intimidation or
but yeah, again, that goes to that it just goes to the issue. I think that this is the strategy from U.S. regulators. It's unfortunate. It's innovation killing. Actually, but it's not an innovation killing. It's innovation chasing, right? Because the innovation is happening. You and I are living in sort of free world.
It's probably chasing the innovation out of the U.S.
Exactly, and that's all they managed to do, and that sucks for the USA. It sucks for the innovators who live there. People that I, work with, and people that I know, friends who are over there and working on crypto, all have, these discussions about where am I moving to. And
do you think Coinbase is going to finally make the move, or you think they're going to stay and fight, or you think they're going to do both?
They're going to do both, of course. I mean, I think that was a very strong statement for Coinbase to say, okay, look, you're not playing ball here, so we're moving out. I think that was there was the correct narrative to push. There was the correct button to push, I think, to make politicians understand that crypto isn't going anywhere and they can't kill it. All they can do is either help it grow within the United States or watch it leave. And I think that some of them do, but the individuals who are in charge right now, I think that they have their own motivations, and I don't think anything's gonna necessarily change that at the moment.
Well, what do you think happens to crypto as an industry? And we've seen it played out again, like with the COVID case, that every kind of topic's being politicized in the US. So, and now that we've seen that, Elizabeth Warren and Biden, they're clearly anti-crypto, and they're chasing down on the crypto industry, it's most likely that the running out to the next election, the Republicans are going to take a more of a pro-crypto stance, and they're going to pretty much politicize something that it's a technological innovation, financial innovation, and how I view it, free tool to potentially provide.
U.S. politics are silly, Hernan. They politicize mask wearing, like literally. If there's a virus going around, you can wear a mask. I mean, if somebody feels uncomfortable in the mask, take it off. Like literally, it's so stupid to make it a political issue. Oh, somebody's wearing a mask, therefore he's aligned with a specific political agenda. I mean, if you think about it, it's really, really silly.
It's thinking about it, but that's
the United States. It goes left and right, and some people watch Fox News and some people watch CNN. and they're just driving a wedge in the country, and very few people actually take the time to watch both, and even fewer people watch neither of them, which I think is probably pretty much the smarter thing to do if you're an average citizen. Your life doesn't revolve around it. But I would prefer Bloomberg, and even lately I'm watching Al Jazeera for some reason. I don't know why. Just because I like to see what other people are saying.
It's out of your own echo chamber.
Get out of my own echo chamber, exactly.
Guys, just a quick break from our episode to tell you how much I appreciate you for being here and following the podcast. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and like and share it with your friends. If you're listening to this, please take a minute to rate the podcast and give us a share. So I appreciate you very much for being here and keep enjoying your episode. Mati, let's jump back to quantum economics, and I want to get to the recent acquisition of Revault, because I think that's where we're this I want to focus on the new things happening in what we're building. So quantum economics, you have a bunch of great, very talented analysts, researchers, advisors. So how are you guys providing services to the crypto space? What is the focus, and how did the Revolt acquisition come to be? And so what's the story there?
Yeah. So for advisory, and I know that so the term advisor basically means to give advice, right? In startup world, a lot of the time, actually advisors don't do very much, right? It could be just a stamp of approval. This person's name is associated with the project. It's a rubber stamp, right? He doesn't do anything, but having him associated with it makes investors more willing to invest in that because they believe in the vision. For me, that's never been the case. For quantum economics, it's not. For us, really, it is about helping those companies grow. Also, with the fact that we're able to build a name and a brand name, where we have the unique advantage, and especially it was true in the bull market, of choosing the clients that we want to work with, right? I hear constant pitches from startups, early stage startups, like literally, I mean, in the bull market, I would field at least 10 a week. We even did like Twitter spaces at some points, like just, you know what, don't even talk to me one-on-one, come into the Twitter space and we called it shill it or kill it, right? And the ones that were the most promising, we ended up working with, but a lot of them, maybe, okay, we don't want to hear about it. These days, I'm probably getting about, let's say between 4 to 8 pitches on a weekly basis. But I really only go further than the first 15 minutes, or even get on the phone these days with the ones that are in line with our vision of a decentralized future. That can be from anywhere from play to earn, or NFTs, decentralized finance, and especially data analytics is very interesting to us and things like that. So I think Lunar Crush is the biggest example of a company that they were actually the first client of Quantum Economics Advisory. I met them through Alon Goren and Joseph Holm, who are part of Draper Goren Holm, which is Tim Draper's VC fund. And I'm on the phone with them once a month, and I have been ever since February 2020. When I met them, they had about 2,500 followers on Twitter. They've grown to about, I think it's probably, they're going to close in on 300,000 now. We go over everything from, their roadmap immediate, priorities, optimization of the platform, the graphic user interface. A lot of that's the kind of stuff that I did at eToro. Like all of the devs would always come to me like, "Hey, Mati, I'm building this. How should we arrange things, or what kind of features would be the most pertinent to add?" Because when you're developing something, you have all these ideas, but you can only execute on a select few of them, right? So you need to know which ones and maybe have some new ideas and things like that. Obviously, I'm not a coder. And then connections, right? So introductions to investors or people in the media and things like that. It really is something that, with an hour of my time on a monthly basis can give a startup an excellent boost, in addition to, the association of the brand name and interaction on social media and using their product and showing people that I'm using their product, showing people how to use the product and things like that. That's really what quantum economics advisory is about. I have been having trouble scaling it, I would say, beyond just me providing the service directly. I did make some effort to do that, especially in the beginning. We had an advisory agreement with 1inch. It was in the news, and then the person that I had appointed as kind of like a point man to handle the relationship didn't do a great job, to be perfectly honest, and that it ended up falling through. I would love to hear ideas on how we can push that forward and make that, a company-wide effort rather than just, me providing a service directly, because I do believe that with the brain power that we have on this team, we should be able to make something that's a lot more scalable.
And I think it's a great idea, like to streamline the type of advisories according to the talent that you kind of stock. So you may have a great, DeFi analyst where someone can be much more dedicated to NFTs and brand awareness, and I think that could drive different project needs to different market. So I'm happy to explore that, but I'm very interested on what your newest acquisition of Revault, because I'm trying to figure out, is this kind of a thing that kind of happened out of serendipity, and now we're trying to grow Revault when the quantum economics, or is this a new type of business strategy of acquiring distressed bear market crypto assets, and that could be also like a new type of crypto business?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and this really, Hernan, it goes to the principle of I do not get involved in projects that I don't see a long-term future in, and I do not get involved in projects that I don't really, really love. And Revolt is one that I was advising. I was advising them from February 2021, and I was on the phone with them on a monthly basis, not just with the founder, in this case, with the entire team. We had a monthly advisory call. And there were other people involved in those, other quantum economics members involved in those advisory calls as well. I could say that was probably one of our better successes in scaling the advisory side. And also, I mean, as a side note, I mean, as a perfect example of this is Supremacy Game, who's declared tactical bankruptcy. I've never sold any tokens, except with the exception of Chili's, which literally went up 80x. I've never sold any tokens for an advisor that I've received as advisory. Supremacy, I'm still holding over 2 million tokens out there. So they've declared bankruptcy. I will not sell it. I believe in the future of the project, even though the corporate entity is dead. I believe that it's going to live on under a new corporate tag. The technology is still there. They spent $4 million developing a game. The game is fun. It's interesting, exciting. There's a great backstory, everything. So I'm in it for the long haul. I'm still in touch with the founders, even though, they're not able to pay me anymore because the company is dead. The the game is still live, and we're going to keep moving forward. So this is who I am. Is me love you long time type of situation. So
I think that's the way to go, right? And it's important to have consistency. And I heard from a great founder, Elliot Trains, who we had in the show, told us, it's really just a matter of will, much
yeah,
more than knowledge, skills, and techniques. But I think so. On one hand, I think wow, this is a genius idea, right? The bear market stuff. A lot of projects are just willing to, like finding someone talented who takes the leadership and brings it forward. And
that's exactly.
on the other hand, it's it's hard to pinpoint good projects that have made new all-time highs on a consecutive bull run. We don't have a lot of history to go from, but it's a tough
For
thing.
targeting market. But in this is exactly what happened with Revolt. The project hit bear market troubles. I think that there were some the idea of the tokenomics around Riva are good. But they were built for a bull market environment. They did not have bear market in mind. And the main issue that we found on examination was that there was never any mechanism for Revolt to be a profitable company. There were no portion of the commissions that went to the corporate entity. Therefore, the only way that the founders had an idea of exiting or making money off of it was price appreciation of the token. And as we know, this is an unsustainable model. So this is going to be our core focus, and we'll probably get there in a second, is to make sure that Revolt itself is a profitable entity. Otherwise, you have no path to sustainability. However, be that on the side, basically what happened is, as an advisor, I felt my job was to, like, they said, okay, we're out. The founders didn't want anything to do with this anymore. They were fighting with each other. They were all, like, they raised $1 million and now their treasury is empty almost. They're like, we can't pay the developers anymore. We have to start firing people. You get that feeling in your stomach, like, I get sick. I can't see this anymore. But I'm looking at it and going, this is a good technology. It works, right? It $1 million went into the development of it, right? Literally. So this is a good entity. At the time, they were talking to me about the Cayman structure, which also is not cheap, as $50,000-$60,000 to set up a Cayman structure like that. So for me, I felt my responsibility was to introduce them to somebody who would take it over. And I introduced them to 3 or 4 people. And after initial conversation, the people were like, no, it's too complicated. I don't know. I have other things that I'm doing. They came to me and said, hey, Mati, maybe you want it? And I said, well, let's do it. Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, I have nothing to lose from taking it and making something of it. And I believe in the vision. And the risks for me are not particularly great. I mean, in any case, right? It's a matter of it's more for me. It's a matter of pride and reputation. I would love to see it grow, but if it doesn't, I'm not out financially very much, so to speak.
Of course. But do you think, do you have maybe a type of a strategy or some plan in place to kick things off? Because if the treasury is empty, maybe rehiring or growing the team, or even maybe keeping on the team that made the technology so far, maybe either that's out of the door, or there needs to be a refinance type of model, maybe attracting new investors, or changing the whole model, trying to selling the equity. I don't know. I'm trying to brainstorm live with you.
Yeah, I wish you would have been on the AMA last night, because we did discuss a lot of these things. There's a recording that will come out within the next few days, and that'll be available. You guys can can hear all of this stuff in great detail, because all of these questions are being asked by the community, and we had answered them. But just speaking in kind of broad brush strokes, and from business strategy wise, the old team, because they raised $1 million and because it was a bull market and they felt like, the wind is in their sails, a lot of the time they were throwing caution out the window and spending big money on things that don't cost a lot of money. So, for example, prime example of that, they were spending $3,000 a month on the corporate entity itself, just on directorship, which is, meaning director of the company, he doesn't do anything. He's just on paper assuming the risk of the company. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. Like, he's just somebody who signs his name at the end of the day and collects a paycheck for it. And they were spending $3,000 a month on that. And that's why also one of the reasons that closing the Cayman Foundation for us, or not associating that with quantum economics, was so beneficial, because my overhead for corporate entity of quantum economics is zero. So now that the assets of Revault belong to quantum economics, that's $3,000 a month that's not being spent on nothing, right?
Right.
So these are the type of things that we basically cut the overhead to a point where I believe that we could just keep the website running for a few $100s a month, and at that point, it's not even considered a real expense or a challenge, right? To meet the overhead, right? So we can keep the project alive pretty much indefinitely without any sort of major strain. So that's pay, right? The project's not going anywhere. The $1.5 million that's currently being staked in the Revault pools, I mean, it can feel safe now, right?
Right.
Because the website's not closing. You're not going to have any challenges anytime withdrawing, or you put your money, people can still come in and put their money in and stake.
And I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but the smart contract has the ownership has been burned or sent to a multi-sig or to provide security for all the depositors, right?
Yeah. So there are various keys and locks and features. I mean, literally the handoff meeting from the old CTO to the new CTO. The old CTO, by the way, Ohad, he's been a blessing. He has an interest to see this project grow. He has stepped out officially, but he's been, I think, the one person from the old team that we can really rely on all the time. And he's been helping every step of the way as far as the handoff is concerned. And what he said was, look, we built a rocket ship. It works. It's a working spaceship. We ran out of gas in the midway. He's like, that wasn't my responsibility. That was the other guys who were supposed to continuously fund it with investment money. But the rocket ship works. Just put some gas in the tank and it'll fly.
Yes.
And literally, I felt like he's handing me the keys of the Millennium Falcon. Right? Like, that's how I felt. Like,
his story as well.
Give it to me, just like that. Okay, let's go.
Let's get Revolt can take on the Fed's Death Star.
Yeah, well, fuel is scarce these days. So at the moment, I'm doing what I can to dust it off and clean it up.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
But there are also the major challenge with a technical handoff like this is that the old team of development knows it inside and out, right? Han Solo knows the Millennium Falcon very well, right? But if he hands the keys over to somebody else just like that, they're like, I don't know which button does what, or if I fix something, what else might break, right?
Yeah.
It's a freaking spaceship.
It's so proper handoff when the team's no longer engaged. Mati, if we zoom out for a bit, and
try to introduce the problem. Let me tackle how we're gonna fix that problem first, because that's a terrible one to leave off with. our new CTO, Vlad Tarasenko, he runs a software development firm with many coders on board, and that's a quick and easy, scalable solution for that. We've organized our first spacewalk, right, which is basically a bug that was in the Phantom code, and Ohad is going to basically watch over Vlad's shoulders while he deploys his coders to fix the bug, at least, then we can have a smooth transition so we get our hands dirty with the code. But other than that, there is plenty of stuff that I can do, and Mati, the CTO, Matt Rich, he's in South Africa. He also runs a fund over there, so he's extremely talented individual, and he knows the stuff inside and out. Is this a matter of dusting off, the pools that are in there, for example? We need to refresh them. There's a lot of nobody's actually done any work on the site in 6 months. So that's where we're focused right now on our short-term goals, and obviously putting together the long-term goals, which are going to depend on funding. For development, we want to develop it further. We want to realize the dreams of making DeFi safe and easy to use through the platform. It's going to require additional funding.
And once it's up and running, then there needs to be, again, like growth efforts, and then you're spreading the word about, hey,
it's up and running now. That's to be clear. It's working up and running now, and it's not closing anytime soon.
Right. And so, but we regrow is like, listen, we've revamped it. We have a new team in place. Everything's up on all cylinders. Guys, come back in, and bring your friends. Right?
Yes, exactly. And bring the friend is the most important, because our marketing strategy is revolving around friend referral and incentivizing people to bring their friends and turning that into a business for the current people who are using it. I think that's something that we can implement without too much technical integration. And there's a guy on Quantum Economics core team. His name is Ryan Sowery. He already has an out-of-the-box solution that's just plug and play with Revault. And we spoke about that at the AMA and how we're going to implement that. There's an issue of working out the specific numbers, but it just seems to me, especially in this market climate, a perfect way of bringing in new users and bringing them in and building the incentivization structure in a way that everybody who's a part of the machine is benefiting, not as a salary model, as I like to say. I mean, in quantum economics, this is one thing you'll find constant, is that I don't like salaries. I really hate them, because I've seen too many times where corporations pay somebody a salary and then take millions of dollars or even billions of dollars of IP and not adequately compensate the person who came up with that idea. People who do the work are entitled to get a fair portion of the work that they've put in, and
that's all the thing they built.
And that's everybody according to what they're putting in, whether that's hard work, elbow grease, or intellectual property. Both are required in order to make something work. So none is greater than the other, but there has to be a balance that everybody's is achieving. Otherwise, and I think that this is the way forward for the world. If we want to move off of this kind of corporate mindset that is kind of taken over capitalism and made everybody poor and unhappy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I'd love to see all of the projects succeed and become kind of a blueprint of what can be done and how to still push forward. Do you think that can be turned into like an actual strategy if that this thing works out? And then I don't want to open the floodgates and tell everyone on our side and say, hey guys, if your companies go through through bear market woes, contact Mati. But maybe that is something on the table you want to put out.
We're already in talks with a few. I mean, it's again, like I said, there is really an issue of we have to like it. It has to be aligned with everything else we're doing. It has to not be a conflict of interest with any of our current businesses or clients, which is not always taken for granted. But I believe in DeFi and within this world, and if you're swimming in the same stream, there really are. I haven't really run into many conflicts of interest because we're all kind of building together, even if something is similar.
And a lot of it, it's open source, but it's good to put a threshold of things that you want to see. Like maybe there has to be a working product that has at least active users, some
Yes.
EVLs, and
100%. And Matt Rich has put together an amazing blog post about this, which is on Quantum Economics Medium. The project is called Layered Cake, and this is the arm of Layered Cake is an arm of quantum economics, which is dealing with DeFi. And Revault very much sits under that arm, and we are in contact with a few other potential acquisition targets. And there are parameters specified there. It has to have a community that's active, a token that's being traded, has some levels of volume, a website or technology that's worthwhile integrating, and it has to be extremely cheap or free because we're not spending money on this. This is something that we're doing passionately for the long term, and VC investment environment right now is toast. Honestly, I mean we just keep barking up these trees, and okay, maybe somebody's raising money somewhere, but honestly,
a little bit.
so we're happy to have those conversations, but we have a more sustainable and straightforward path, and VC money is always like kind of a double-edged sword because very suddenly you're going to find that they have a lot of power and control in centralized hands. It might be a bit difficult to get around. So if their purpose is to support the ecosystem and benefit from it, this is a conversation we love having. If their purpose is to kind of give us some money so that they own it, in the end of the day, everything that we're building has to be, with the mission of decentralized future.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mati, so before we go, because I do want to be respectful of your time, what would be for what you learned in quantum economics, what would be your top three like core lessons or advice that you could give new founders on the Web3 space that they should totally take into consideration moving forward when building their businesses? What would be your core kind of takes and lessons there?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know, man. There's a lot and a little, honestly.
Let's go for one. Well, the biggest thing that if I would be starting a Web3 project today, what would you say? Hey, listen, this is what you should take into consideration, whether I'm deciding whether to go for it or not, or if you're already doing this, take this in mind.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm having trouble. Maybe I don't know why I'm a bit tongue tied about this. I give advice for a living. But you're asking for the whole of knowledge about
I'll make it easy for you, Mati. What keeps you going with quantum economics? What makes you say this is something that I'm building long term and I have a core belief in it?
because I realize that the potential in the long term, right? I realize that all of the things that I'm building towards, some of the projects might not make it. Okay, I'm not going to say, WAGME or something, everybody's going to make it. It's not possible. Some of them might not. And especially with startups, I mean, they have a high failure rate. But I have a vision on what the future is going to look like, right? And what it's going to take to get there. And all of the things that I'm doing are building towards that. And that's, for me, that's what drives me forward. I know for a fact that, I mean, it's a classic example. The US dollar is not going to remain the global reserve currency for long. I've been blogging about this for more than 5 years. So all of the pop-up analysts that'll tell you that because of the deal with Saudi Arabia, I promise you, this was in my 2020 decade forward thesis. Okay,
Mm.
um, and this is documented. Um, I know that government debt as a way of financing global growth is a flawed system,
Yeah.
and it will end badly. I know this for a fact because, I mean, we just think about it, right? It's just so simple. The incentivizations are wrong. Politicians are temporary, and they're able to amass debt and then leave the office and let the next guy take care of it. And that's been happening over and over again as a vicious cycle with the debt getting bigger and bigger.
Corporations that are long
And which it gets bigger.
Yeah.
So this is just it's gonna come to a massive end. And people who manage money, it's their responsibility. And we're finding out with SVB, right? Is their responsibility not to blindly trust the government and put the money in the government bonds like the government said. SVB collapsed because SVB listened to the Fed when the Fed said rates are going to stay lower for a very long time. They said, okay, well, if that's the case, we can buy these low interest rate bonds as a safety net. And government and money managers who are smart, and if they're in this industry because they like making money and they like being sustainable and they understand how things work, they're going to understand that government bonds, lending your money to the government, is a very, very bad financial decision to make because the governments are so bad with money. Therefore, approximately half of the world's wealth right now, which is in government debt, it needs a new home. And it needs one that's smart and intelligent and knows what to do with the money and knows how to use the money to make it grow. And I believe that open source code is the solution. I'm pretty sure about it. And this is the vision that I want to. People who don't understand all of these things and are soon to be displaced by artificial intelligence are needing to do something with their time and their energy. And I believe that play to earn is it. Maybe not play to earn in this model. Universal basic income failed because it was run by government, and governments are bad with money. Yeah. However, capitalism takes the reins, right? And says, okay, wait a second. Let's build a model in which people can make a sustainable income playing a video game.
Yeah, especially since it is a currency.
Right. Elon Musk tweeted today, AI creates infinite abundance and infinite many other things, right? We're not going to have to work very soon, right? Yeah. The robots will do all our jobs. It's just a matter of figuring out how do the people continue to understand what do they own, what do they not own, and what resources they can ask for from the AI, right? And I believe that, skill in playing a video game, for example, will be something that is rewarded by those AI systems. But first we have to build that. First we have to build the ground layer infrastructure for that, which is where we're at now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if we think about, you just said to try and answer your questions, just thinking about what does the future look, that's what drives me anyways. And how to help the people that are around me, my family, and the people that are on quantum economics, I feel are my second family. And making sure that everybody's got an equitable part for what they, even if the rewards aren't instant, and especially in the bear market, things are tough. Things are tough for a lot of the people on our team right now. I wish that I could do more to help people than I do. I wish I could. And I believe that if we all work hard, we put in the effort, both from the intellectual property and from the elbow grease side, the rewards will come, right? Bear markets do not last forever. This one has been brutal, and it's been already a year and a half. It's going to be over, right? Very soon. I can feel it. And when it does, the more effort you've put in the bear market will pay off exponentially in the bull market, because you'll already be ready to go. You'll not be in, wait a second, what do I need to do? Where am I going? I need to launch something. No, we've already got Revault. It's there. It's already set up. It's already running. Let's go.
Right. I like that. I like that approach, Mati. Listen, I truly appreciate you not only coming here, but being open and being direct being personal, no BS. So I appreciate that totally. I think you can sense that, and I have a sense. We are gonna have a great time potentially working together. So I'm looking forward to what you're building in quantum economics, and I do have a shared vision with you about that future. So yeah, I want to thank you so much for being here, and let's make it happen.
Awesome, man. And I look forward to watching all of your interviews with the various members of our team and hearing your ideas about how we can improve cross collaboration, improve what you're working on, and build together, because we're all building towards, I believe, the same vision here. And if you're not, just let me know. We can get lost.
Yeah. No, let's do that. Let's start scheduling them. I'll reach out to you, and we'll make this happen.
Sounds good, man. Good
All
speaking.
right, Martin. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Bye for now.
Yeah. Bye.
Please keep in mind that none of what's said in this podcast should be considered financial advice. You are strongly recommended to do your own research and do not take anything we say in this podcast as a recommendation to buy or sell any assets whatsoever.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Web3 Creators Podcast. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all of your favorite platforms. And if you're serious about building your own Web3 business, head over to web3creatordojo.com and check out our courses. That's web3creatordojo.com. See you soon, creators.